Oh man, it's a wonderful November day, and I'm out here on the Hightower with the CC frame, X01 build. Got the reserve wheels, and this thing has just been a phenomenal little journey for me. Really connected with this bike over the last few weeks. This bike's got 150 millimeters of travel front, 150 in the rear, just making it that perfect middle travel, do-it-all mountain bike. This has been my first experience on a Hightower, and it's just so fun. It's a pretty dang zippy little climber. It's got a nice seat tube angle, real steep, and a 438 millimeter chainstay on it, and this thing just climbs everything so well. Doesn't seem to be too long to kind of get around tight uphill switchbacks, but at the same time it's just so planted to the ground. This thing just definitely feels like it's on a mission to climb, especially considering 150 millimeters of travel. You could end up with some different feeling bikes, and this thing just feels very efficient while climbing. It's got a good GABA anti-squat, and it's rewarding to get out of the saddle, mash the pedals, and ultimately it's just got this very efficient demeanor. Just seems like even with a max grip front tire, I'm able to just kind of hold a really nice uphill cadence with this bike. The kind of show-stopping attribute of this bike is just how good it can climb up super steep climbs, which we got a handful of those in town, where it just can be tough to keep your front wheel down and put down the power. And this bike just really stays glued, poised, confident. It's very balanced feeling. I really like their large sizing on these. Got like a 472 reach in the low setting, and just feel like this bike was basically tailor-made for me. I'm 5'11", and I have a pretty good arm span. Yeah, I'm really stoked on this bike just because of the versatility. It's just quite efficient on the way up, and then it packs a serious capability while descending. And it never really feels cumbersome on either the climbs or the descents. It's just one of those bikes. It's a joy to be in this cockpit. Just feel like I could be on this thing all day. It's just very comfortable, feels efficient, and as we'll get to, it's just like a total Spitfire on the downhills. All right, time for the good part. Started out that really drop to flat move there. Always gets the blood going. It's a pretty flat landing. Yeah, this thing just feels like it's one of those bikes that just immediately was super comfortable for me to ride. Really feels like it just kind of pivots around my hips. It's got just a really nice, kind of stable, balanced feeling wheelbase. Just feels like fairly planted to the ground. But then it's got that 150 millimeters of travel, and it just feels pretty lively and poppy at the same time. It's fun with a bike this size because I just feel like it pumps the terrain so good. So if you can kind of keep that really nice pumping sensation and not feel overwhelmed on sections of trail that are a little bit scary, it's just such a killer combo. This thing just feels fairly lightweight, easy to put where you want it. This bike does honestly have like a longer feeling chainstay on the kind of spectrum of 150 bikes, which makes it feel real stable. And I think you the bike kind of rescues the poppiness that it loses to stability with just like a really nice ramp up in the rear end. Man, it's just such a soft ride. It's so hard to believe how soft this bike is. I think there's some magic in these handlebars flexing a little bit. But when the trail gets a little bit rowdier, this thing just has like the wheelbase to stay poised. And as I mentioned, it's just so soft, which just really puts you in a nice mindset as you're hammering through tricky terrain. Oh, so good feeling. My goodness, that max grip front tire today is just really hooking up. I'd say it's quite needed. A little greasy today, and I haven't quite got my winter riding muscles back yet. Woo! Wow! Super stable through that section. That's like honestly a pretty rowdy section. And yeah, this bike felt like kind of has that, almost feels like it has a wheelbase of a longer enduro bike. Woo! Got a little offline there. Woo! Just slid the rear end into a spot that I probably shouldn't have. Thought there was a trail gap that was worth it. I'd say it wasn't. Another impressive thing about this bike is just that rear end feels really solid. Like the whole frame just feels quite quiet and muted. I think that derailleur slaps a little bit, but just not too much cable slap. It's a really deadened sounding bike. I'm a big fan of how light this bike feels on its toes and how it kind of pops. It's not like too active or like bucky, but it's also, but it just kind of has this nice subtle loft you up kind of pop. It just feels real predictable. And that's even with me running the rear rebound wide open on the fast side. Just easy to pick this bike up and backside rollers, and still retains that medium bike, kind of small bike feel. And it's just got this like pivot around your hips feeling. Like when things got weird on that last trail, just felt like, okay, I got this, you know. This bike's also got a really nice ramp up in the rear suspension. I feel like I've definitely been bottoming this thing, but I can't quite feel it, which is just an awesome thing in a bike. This bike's just got the power to just mow tough terrain in a really lightweight package, which is one of my favorite things in a bike, I think. Just to keep it agile, but you know, I don't want to get bounced around too hard or have the ride be uncomfortable. This bike's got that 64.5 head tube angle in the low setting, which just really kind of relaxes things on the front end. Wouldn't say this bike feels like cumbersome at all. I think that's just because it's only got the 150 millimeters of travel. It doesn't feel too crazy. But it is impressive just how capable this bike is on like big terrain. I've been riding this bike on a couple black and double black trails, and even on the super steep moves, this bike just feels right at home. Woo! Yeah, that section's actually kind of rowdy. This bike just ate it up with like this middle level of travel, or whatever 150 is these days. You just feel like you can push your weight around, get the bike to do what you want a little bit more easily than you know, big enduro bikes. You can pull for trail doubles and little features a little bit more easy too. So who is this bike for? I'd say this bike is just that like ultimate mountain biker's mountain bike. I feel like it's capable of so many things. I'd say this Hightower is for like every mountain biker, and especially the ones looking to like efficiently pedal around in big terrain, but still want to have that big bike capability to roll out. And this bike's just got, you know, a little bit lighter on travel, but it's got this big bike presence in the wheelbase, and it's just so incredible. I've honestly just had a friggin' blast on this bike. So if you enjoyed this review, consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. For the full write-up, head on over to freehubmag.com.